Thanks. Hi, guys. How you doing tonight? Good. We are going to do a little figure drawing today. Yay. Oh, great. I kind of assume everybody has done at least a little bit of this in college. Am I right? Everybody? Okay. How many people loved it? Awesome. How many hated it? You know, that's okay. So hopefully maybe today I'll tell you a couple of tricks and I'll make a convert out of you, Michelle. Okay. I'm going to talk a little first about the Art Students League. That is where I pretty much learned all my drawing skills. Anybody ever heard of it or have been there? Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Okay. For those of you who don't know, it's a school on 57th and 7th Ave. It's been there for about 130 years now. It's got kind of a famous crew of students who pass through there. Some of my heroes, George O'Keeffe, William Merritt Chase, Norman Rockwell, just for a few. A couple of years ago, they were doing a renovation, and they broke down a wall, and they found a portfolio behind it. And in there was this just vast collection of classical figure drawings from like late 1800s, early 1900s. Very impressive little collection. And this inspired a book. So it's called the Classical Life Drawing Studio. This just came out. I got it about a month ago. And in here is many reproductions of those pieces. So these things, they're just awesome. So they got the whole school together pretty much, or at least the classical drawing style people. Many of the instructors are in here. This is Costa Vaviakis. They all did a write-up analysis of a different one of these drawings that was found. They also have a portfolio of all their own work. So these are some pieces by Costa. And these things are huge. He works really meticulously with pencil. He also has a similar background as me. He's about 10 years older than I am and went to art and design the generation before me. We had the same teacher. So also in the book are several current students. There was a competition held by, we were nominated by the teachers, and several people were put in the book. This is, I think, one of the top students in the school, Robin Smith. And what I think is so awesome about this is I love the contrapposto position. That is, you guys should know this word. It's going to be on the CST when you take that. I love how this is her weight-bearing leg. And you can see that if something happened to that leg, she's going to fall over. And it's always, from our perspective, under the head. No matter where you are on this pose, that leg is going to fall right vertically under the head. That's our center of balance. And I love the way she very unapologetically came in with white chalk and is changing the edges of those forms. She's making corrections. And she's not going in there with her eraser and making sure nobody saw that terrible mistake she just made. And it's part of the drawing. It has evolved from every stroke and every eraser line. One other piece I liked. This one here. This is another current student. His name is Larry Lee. I know him pretty well. He's also my husband. And this is also why I forgive them for not have chosen me for the book. But he does a really nice thing that he works on the drapery as well. And if you ever know, for many of you guys who try to do drapery, it kind of takes over and becomes its own animal, and then all of a sudden it's a drawing of drapery with a model in the way. So it maintains the background-foreground relationship while still being totally well drawn. So if anybody's interested, and I can pass this around, you can give it a further flip through. Also, if you guys like to see, this is I think this is last year's catalog. The way the league works is you pretty much look through the catalog, and there's examples of the teacher and their student with a write-up as well. So, Grace, if you want to take a look, you can pass that around as well. We're going to do just a short pose today, and I'm going to give you a little bit of demo to show you how my process is about getting started. So can I have a volunteer for a model? Mark, why don't you come on up. Get up there and get undressed. Just kidding, you don't have to get undressed. Now, one of the rules about figure drawing in my class, nobody gets to complain that the model moved. Because we're drawing a human, humans move. It is the part of the problem of the artist to figure out how to handle that situation. One of my favorite painters, Soroya, he'd go on the beach and he'd set up his paints and he painted these kids running around on the beach. They weren't standing still posing for him. And you look at these paintings and it's amazing. And, it was in the days, he didn't have a little portable camera there with him. So, but Mark, that also does not mean you're not allowed to move either. Yeah. Okay. So, but they don't want the model to die. So if you got to stretch out, you can just go ahead and retake the position. Okay, nice pose. Notice what he's doing. Contrapposto. That is like our most natural position. So no matter where I look at him, let's want you to move forward just a touch. No matter where I am around him, that leg is under his head. If I kick this out, he's going down. There's a couple of tools that I use. First is the cardboard L's. Nothing special. In this case, it used to be a mat. You can take it from the back of your drawing pad. What you do is kind of align it anywhere you want. In this case, like to the proportion of our paper. It's kind of like that, I say. The size doesn't really matter. And then you want to step back and decide how would you like to crop them. Now, this is particularly good for landscape, or if you're going to do it like a really close cropping, something more abstract. You can get in there and kind of move it forward and back. So it's also important that these don't get too big and they're kind of hard to control, or too small where you can't get into the space. This is about a good medium size. And then you can also clip them together so it doesn't keep changing on you. So our space is a little tight for this, so I'm probably not going to really need this just at the moment. Another piece I like is a plumb line. Just anything that's kind of heavy, that'll weigh it down. You don't have to buy anything special, just any old string to maintain a vertical. Drawing is all about comparing one thing to another. That's why that very first stroke on the page is the most scary, because you don't have anything to compare to. So by dropping my vertical, I can see right through his head that goes right to his foot. And he's kind of waving on either side of that vertical, but it gives me that point of comparison. It's not a good idea. A lot of people will use the pencil. It's too fat. And also because of not a weight, any little twist of your wrist, that's throwing your vertical off. This is an absolute vertical. Okay, so now what I want to do, just really quick, we're going to pretend I have a page. And I'm just going to roughly do one thing for me, Mark. We're going to change the pose just a hair. Take this arm and hold it out like that. Thank you.
Just like this?
Yep, perfect. I'm going to think about where his head is, and I'm going to think about the extremes of the pose. The head, I'm not seeing much of that arm, and this is slightly clunky in that I'm drawing his back and you're seeing his front. But I'm really only going to just doing this just to see, so you guys can see how I get started. So his head, I want it pretty much a little bit of air on the top of the page. We don't want his head clunking in. That's sort of a compositional weirdness thing there when somebody feels like tight on the page, like they're about to bang their head on the corner of their page. His head, that foot, this other foot, his arm's going out here. And actually, I just changed my mind. All I got to do is move it over. Not so much wasted work. I'm going to just give myself a little gesture line. And that's it. And then I'm going to kind of rough in the proportion of his head to his body. The head is usually the point of comparison. You guys probably always heard this, about 7.5 high. But of course, in the case of foreshortening, that all goes out the window. So head, I'm going to see, I'm going to kind of, that shoulder's going up. This hip's going this way. That's under his head. I think that should be a little smaller. I'll bring this up. And just the very rough placement on the page. And then I work in the details from here. So, thank you, Mark. You can relax. Nope, not just yet, but you can take a 2-second rest, take another pose. You guys can go start sketching, and I'll just walk around and make comments as anybody might need them.
How long is the pose, Chris?
5 minutes. So you can do many. You can get up and move around to an empty seat, though I think we're a little crowded. Yes, good idea, Grace.
No, I feel like that's really interesting.
Just some basic rules of thumb. If you can't see it, don't draw it. So if you can't see his feet, compose it so you're only seeing below his knee. Okay, good, nice job. And this takes a long time. It's kind of our whole life's commitment, practically. I can't tell you how to draw in 3 easy lessons, or even 6 hard ones. You can work real light. Let the drawing evolve. I use my eraser more for rendering than I do actual erasing. Nice. I see everybody's kind of got a good handling on angles. And I'm seeing a lot of drawings that are fitting nice and comfortably on the page. Cool. So unfortunately, we don't have a light source. That makes it a little harder. He's flattening out a lot in the fluorescence. But I can see you guys have a lot of experience and you're finding those shadows, which is building your volume. Nice. Get that support leg in there. I want to make sure he's standing. When we think about the face, we always kind of want to make sure it looks like him. So you kind of look extra hard at the face, because we want to know it's Mark standing there. But when you're looking at something like the elbow, you want to look extra hard at the elbow. we want to make sure that that's Mark's elbow. So you're always drawing him, not just somebody standing over there. Remember also, there's no shame in measuring. You can tick off and count those heads. So even though you've cropped that head, you want to think, no, it's fine to crop the head, but you want to think about the size that the whole head would have been.
Okay.
So when you count how many down, just kind of measure, just open up your hands, count from here, and then start counting down 1, 2, 3, and so forth.
Okay.
I'm not sure hands.
Hands are tough. In a 5-minute pose, you did it perfectly. You only have to kind of block them in.
Oh, really?
Nice job there, because we're going to end in just a second here. So, but everybody did an amazing effort, and you're actually all really pretty good. I hope I run into you in another life class sometime. And just always remember, an artist is a sketchbook with a person attached. Okay, thank you, Mark, and thank you, everybody.